I couldn't believe that I didn't know about it, and I was so caught up with the mission and the goals of this organization. So I thought, we really should have this conversation, right? And let people know what's happening with Safe Pet Ontario. So Karen, your involvement with it, as I shared in the introduction, is you're on the board and you are a volunteer with it. So share with all of us, why did you get involved? What was it that you heard that said, I've got to be part of this organization?
With my background in law enforcement, as well as my volunteering with victim services of Middlesex, London, constantly seeing the statistics month to month in regards to domestic violence cases or intimate partner violence cases, and those statistics continue to be high. And in the back of my mind, it's like you sit back and go, what else can we do? What can we do? What element can we do to assist further? It assists in removing a barrier for families fleeing domestic violence. And so this was a spin-off or a connection to my work with victim services and moving forward to try and lower those statistics, especially now with the COVID pandemic. The media's reported on it, and myself, I see the stats still every month, and they're going up due to COVID. The domestic violence stats are going up again. And what better than to bring in an initiative right now that can hopefully bring those statistics down somewhat and give those families some comfort in relation to their pets.
If you're looking for what to do right now, how do I get involved, how can I make a difference, then I think this is a very unique way to get involved in this program.
The research was clear that over 50% of the victims will not leave or delay leaving abusive situations if they have to leave their pet behind. And many women's shelters, they're unable to house or shelter pets on site. And so there are very few options for owners to stay with their pets. How can we take one of those barriers away from a family who's trying to flee that violence? Another fact that's very concerning is that in domestic violence cases where there is a pet residing in that home, research shows that 89% of those cases also involve animal cruelty as well. The foster family program, it's part of the two pieces here today that are really important, is making the community aware that Safe Pet exists, which I'm doing through you today. And secondly, reaching out for volunteer foster families and our recruitment of foster families. We look for families that can instill and bring stability, consistent care, offering comfort, and of course someone who is pet friendly. And the thing is those pets have been through trauma and stress. And that's really important to know and to make sure we're aware of. And when we look for our volunteers, we certainly do a good screening of those volunteers because, again, we're doing this for those families that are fleeing violence. Why would we not be screening volunteers for their most precious pets? As we know, the majority of the pets that people do own, we have dogs, we have cats. We're also looking for volunteer families, foster families, for birds, for reptiles, for pocket pets like guinea pigs and gerbils. In our county, in Middlesex County, we're looking for foster families that can assist us with various farm animals, large and small, horses, goats, because these are all animals that at some point in time come to our attention in our program.
what would a foster family be kind of looking at in a length of time that they would be responsible for the care of this pet on behalf of the family while they're getting into safety?
When we sign up interested people that want to be volunteers in our program, we are looking for a 2-year commitment. What I know statistically is that the average amount of time that a family does care for a pet in a foster capacity is approximately 7 to 8 months. Okay. So it would be, sometimes it's less than that. Again, if the family settles in a safe environment sooner, they get their pet returned to them sooner. And then if it's later, if it's up to a year, that's when they get the pet returned to them. It's just as per once that family is settled into a safe environment again, that's when we can and when we do return the pet, because the ownership of that pet is never relinquished. It is always the pet is always considered part of that ownership for that family. As the regional coordinators, we would be that middle party that would be facilitating that. Also, when the pet first comes into our possession, that pet goes directly through us to a veterinary clinic. That pet right away goes in for a medical examination. The veterinary clinic also ensures that all of their immunizations are up to date. And as well, that pet also gets a behavioral analysis done by the veterinary clinic, because that, again, like I said earlier, that pet has gone through some trauma, some stress, and the vet will evaluate that pet for us right in the beginning, prior to it even going to a foster family. Any pet that's being examined by a veterinary clinic anywhere in Ontario as a relation to the Safe Pet program, the Farley Foundation is covering those expenses. The family does not have that expense as well. We're available to respond to emergency calls regarding animals and getting them to an emergency shelter. And that's where we connect. Or if police are at a call, victim services are at a call, they will assist in getting that family to a place of safety, including the pet, which will go to an emergency shelter or an emergency location that's already pre-established and pre-screened, so that that pet is also in a place of safety at that time.
Well, good for you for seeing the need. I can see where it would be a real natural linkage for you to go from victim services, where you've been so involved for so many years, to this organization, because it really is a total relationship tie-in, but it's also so necessary. So good for you for
thank you.
Jumping in and taking this big piece on. And I'm glad that you mentioned it to me, and I'm glad I've had a chance to profile and highlight you and what you're doing in the organization. So this is terrific. I hope that there's lots of activity on the website that people are going to go to it, and let's keep it in mind, right? Hashtag Safe Pet, I assume, from a social media piece, but we've got to keep the word out so that more people know that this is available to them, right? Especially at no cost, because that barrier has been removed as well.
Yes, and thank you again for your assistance. With your assistance, we can end the violence. We can save one family at a time. Take them away from that violence, and it's truly a community response to ending this violence one family at a time.
I read a quote that I from your website that I thought certainly resonated, and I think it tells the story. If I can just sort of wrap our conversation up with this, but it said, when you're in an abusive situation, the pet you have could be the only positive relationship in your life, and you don't want to give that up. You have no idea how much it meant to know that Phoebe was in good hands and to not have the additional stress of worrying about her welfare. That's a quote from one of the families that you have supported, and I just thought, doesn't that just capsulize it all? That it could be the only loving, or one of the few loving relationships that you've got. This pet, you can't give it up, and now you don't have to worry about her. So to all the folks, so all the Phoebes out there that need to be protected, clearly SafePet.ca can help out. So let's hope that we get some traffic over there, Karen, and thanks for what you do.
Oh, thank you, Cynthia.